Hi everybody, I wanted to review the first problem, P1-40, and kind of just give you an idea of what you to do in this particular problem. So what I have up in front for you to look at is the actual template, and you'll notice that this template has assets, liabilities, and equity. And the accounts below it are for each of those particular categories. So cash, accounts receivable, and office supplies falls under assets and also land. Under liabilities is just accounts payable. And then under equity is Crone capital, withdrawals, service revenue, rent expense, and advertising expense. You'll also notice that there's a balance, beginning balance for each of these accounts. If there's nothing in there such as withdrawals, that's because there's no beginning balance there, or in service revenue, rent expense, or advertising expense. Now, there are 7 transactions, I believe, or 8, A through H, and each of these transactions correspond with the transaction that's in the problem in the text. So transaction A, you'll see right here, and you start on that line. Okay, so don't confuse the lines. Make sure that your entries correspond with that particular transaction. And underneath each of the transactions, you'll find a balance. So you want to keep a running balance of that particular account. So I'm just going to go through the first one to give you an idea of what to do. So in the first transaction A, for problem 1-40A, it says that Matilda Crone contributed $13,000 in cash in exchange for capital. So when you're looking at these transactions, you want to determine first of all, what accounts are being affected by the transaction. And then for those accounts, is it being added to or is it being subtracted from? In this particular case, it says that Matilda Crone contributed $13,000 in cash in exchange for capital. What Matilda Crone is doing is she's taking her own money and investing it into the business that she's starting. And that's why it's saying in exchange for capital. So she's adding in of her own money $13,000 in cash. So in the cell, in that particular cell, right underneath the beginning balance, we're going to enter in $13,000 in cash because she is adding to it. Now, if by some chance she was subtracting, what you would simply want to do is put a minus sign in front of it. And that would indicate that it's being subtracted from the account. But in this case, it's being added. So $13,000 in cash is being added. And it is being added in exchange for capital. So she's investing capital into the business. So we're going to increase $13,000 in capital as well. That's the only 2 accounts that you're going to affect in this transaction. You can leave every other cell on that line, on that row, blank. Now under the balance, you want to keep a running balance. So in this case, and if you know Excel, you can put the formula in yourself to add those 2 cells, or you can simply calculate it yourself. So 13,000 plus 2,300 would equal 15,300. And you can keep the running balance for even accounts that do not have any transaction made to it. That's up to you, as long as at the very bottom the balances show the correct balance. Over in Crone Capital, the balance is going to be $24,300. Okay? So you're going to do the same thing for the remaining transactions. You're going to determine what accounts are being affected and whether those accounts are added or subtracted. Keep a running balance, and at the very bottom here, you want to add up and make sure that your balance is correct. And in the end, your total assets will equal $27,900 for assets, and for liabilities, $27,900. Because if you read the chapter, you'll know that assets must always equal liabilities plus owner's equity. So if these 2 numbers do not add up, then you've done something wrong. Now remember, if it's a negative number, you're going to want to make sure that, let's say that the withdrawals, because they're drawing out, they're always going to be a negative number. So you want to make sure that your final balance here shows a negative number. So you'll notice that when I put that negative in, it changed it to parentheses and in the red, okay? So I think that's all I want to show you for this particular problem. I hope this helped you and helped you to understand what is happening. Thank you.